Welcome to Revenge with Lyra.
Pack your things and move out by Monday. My mother's taking your apartment. That was how my morning started, with my husband, shouting in the doorway of the one-bedroom Los Angeles apartment that I'd rented long before we met. The place I paid $4,300 a month for, every cent from my work, not his. My name is Harper Lane, I'm 29. And if you think I was about to watch my life get stolen by people who'd never lifted a finger to build it, stay tuned. How do you stay calm when someone calls your independence temporary? His mother had already ordered new furniture to my address. The gall of it was almost impressive. White leather couches, gold curtains, a chandelier that would never fit through the door. Mom wants the keys by Sunday, he added, arms crossed like a landlord evicting a stranger. I blinked at him once. You mean my keys? He stepped closer. You'll find somewhere else. I've already moved the deposit. Then, when I tried to push past him to grab my phone, the back of his hand cracked against my cheek. The slap wasn't hard. It was calculated. The kind meant to humiliate, not hurt. He smirked. It's not yours anymore. The room went silent. Only the clock ticked. My face burned, but my voice didn't shake. You made a mistake. He laughed. You'll regret those words. I didn't answer. I just texted one number, the only one that mattered. My brother, Major Elias Lane, U.S. Army Intelligence Division. Within minutes, his reply came through. Stay calm. Don't leave the building. The next morning, before sunrise, the roar of diesel engines filled our street. When I pulled back the curtain, 5 military jeeps lined the curb, headlights glowing through the mist. My husband stepped out in his robe and froze, because standing on the pavement was Elias in full uniform. Elias didn't say a word at first. He just stood there, tall, silent, the kind of presence that made people instinctively step back. Behind him, 2 military police officers unloaded boxes from the jeep, paperwork in hand. My husband's voice cracked. What's happening? Elias turned to me. Harper, are you okay? For a second, I felt like a child again, my big brother checking if I'd scraped my knee. But this wasn't childhood. This was war, quiet and legal. I'm fine, I said, though my cheek still stung. They tried to take my apartment. Elias looked around the living room, at the half-assembled furniture his mother had delivered, at the boxes marked for Mom's suite. His jaw tightened. Then, calmly, he handed a folder to one of the officers. Document everything. Photos, receipts, timestamps. We'll start with the lease transfer attempt. My husband's smirk returned, weak, uncertain. You can't do anything. It's a domestic matter. Elias' tone didn't rise. When that domestic matter involves fraudulent housing transfer, theft, and assault, it becomes a federal issue. His mother appeared in the hallway, robe cinched tight, her perfume cutting through the air. This is ridiculous. My son has rights. That apartment was a gift. From who? Elias asked.
She faltered.
From her. Before she changed her mind. Elias opened the lease agreement I'd signed 2 years before my marriage, my name alone, in bold ink. Ma'am, this property is registered under my sister's tenancy. Attempting to seize or alter it without consent is illegal. She blinked rapidly. We didn't. Save it. He motioned to the officers. Photograph everything. My husband turned to me, panic flickering. You called the army on me? I met his eyes, steady.
No.
I called family. Outside, the first rays of dawn hit the military jeeps, gold and merciless. And for the first time in months, I felt safe. By noon, the building buzzed with whispers. Neighbors peeked from half-closed doors, pretending to check their mail while military officers cataloged every imported chair and chandelier my mother-in-law had smuggled in. Elias kept his tone cool, professional. Ma'am, you'll need to sign this acknowledgement form confirming you brought these items here, without the tenant's consent. She tried to laugh it off. Surely this is unnecessary. Sign, he repeated. The pen shook in her manicured hand. My husband paced the kitchen like a trapped animal. You're ruining my reputation. Do you even know who my clients are? I leaned against the counter. They'll find out soon enough that you assault women and falsify housing documents. He froze. You wouldn't. I already did, I said, sliding my phone across the marble. The video I'd recorded the night before, his slap, his threats, played at full volume. Elias had sent it directly to his legal liaison. Within an hour, 2 plainclothes detectives arrived to take statements. My husband's voice trembled as he tried to explain how a simple family misunderstanding had escalated. The officer only raised an eyebrow. Meanwhile, Elias sat with me by the window. I've already called a friend in the property division, he said quietly. They'll fast-track your protection order. He won't come near this place again. I nodded, exhaling a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Outside, the jeeps began to roll away. My husband stood in the street, shouting something about lawyers and unfair treatment, but his voice was swallowed by the engines. Elias turned to me. Want me to stay tonight? I smiled faintly.
No.
You've done enough. I can finally sleep without checking the lock twice. When the last jeep disappeared, silence returned. Not the tense kind, but the healing kind. For the first time, my apartment felt mine again. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the blinds, catching on the torn pieces of the eviction notice I'd ripped up the night before. My face still ached faintly, but my chest felt light. I brewed coffee, poured it into my favorite chipped mug, and stood in the quiet hum of my reclaimed space. The world outside moved as if nothing had happened, but my world had changed completely. At 10 a.m., Elias called. You'll see something on the news, he said, his tone unreadable. On the local broadcast, a reporter stood outside my apartment building. Authorities responded yesterday to a domestic dispute involving an attempted illegal lease transfer and alleged assault. Military investigators assisted due to the involvement of an active service officer's family. They blurred my face, but not his. My husband's name ran across the ticker, along with his firm's name, the same firm that marketed itself as Integrity in Property Management. My phone lit up instantly, missed calls from him, then his mother. Then my building's landlord called, voice cheerful. Mississippi Lane. Just saw the news. I'm renewing your lease at the same rate, no increase. You're one of our best tenants. I smiled. For once, someone saw my worth without needing to destroy me first. By afternoon, I'd boxed up the last of his things, shirts, cologne, ego, and stacked them neatly by the door. I left a note taped on top. Your mother's furniture is at the curb. You can collect your lies with it. That evening, Elias returned in casual clothes, bringing Thai takeout. You good? He asked, handing me chopsticks. I nodded. Better than good. He raised an eyebrow. What's next? I looked around the apartment. Clean, free, peaceful. I'm thinking of buying. He grinned. With what? I smiled back. With the settlement I'm about to file. Outside, the city lights flickered like applause. 3 days later, a thick envelope slid under my apartment door. Inside, divorce papers. My husband's lawyer had stamped abandonment of marital property in bold across the top, as if kicking me out hadn't been enough. I called Elias. He listened without interrupting, then said, He's panicking. Let him. By the next morning, the panic had a price. His law firm suspended him pending an internal ethics investigation. Word travels fast when the news shows your face beside a headline that reads, Real estate broker involved in assault and fraud probe. Still, I wasn't satisfied. Not with revenge, but with truth. I met my lawyer, Candace Lee, in her downtown office. You ready to file? She asked. Yes, I said. And I'm adding a claim for emotional distress. Candace smirked. He'll settle before it goes near a courtroom. That afternoon, I received a frantic voicemail from my husband. We can work this out. Please, don't press charges. I deleted it. Later, as I walked through the city, I noticed how everything felt sharper. Colors, sounds, the rhythm of my own steps. Freedom has a strange texture when you've forgotten what it feels like. That night, Elias stopped by again, this time without his uniform. You look different, he said. I finally believe it's over, I answered. He nodded slowly. Good. But remember, closure isn't revenge. It's peace. The next morning, a delivery arrived. My own set of new locks and keys, engraved with tiny initials, HL. No note, but I knew who sent them. I replaced the locks myself. Each click sounded like punctuation at the end of a very long sentence. By sunset, I stood on the balcony, city lights reflecting off the new key in my palm. It wasn't about reclaiming a home anymore. It was about reclaiming me. The following week, my attorney called. "Harper, you might want to sit down," she said, barely suppressing a smile. She forwarded me a confidential memo, his firm's official statement. "We have terminated Mr. Randall Cole effective immediately following verified reports of fraud and misconduct."
Fraud.
That word rang like music. I hadn't said a single public word. I didn't have to. The truth had done the work for me. Meanwhile, social media was tearing him apart. A video leaked from the night of the confrontation. Neighbors had filmed military jeeps parked outside our building, the scene looking like a government raid. The clip had over 3 million views with captions like, "Don't mess with a soldier's sister." Elias called, laughing, "You're trending." I exhaled, half amused, half overwhelmed. That's the last thing I wanted. "Maybe not," he said, "but it's the kind of justice that finds people who think they're untouchable." That evening, as I walked home from a client meeting, I saw the light from my apartment glowing warm through the windows. My reflection in the glass didn't look like a victim anymore. It looked like someone who'd rebuilt herself from ashes and glass. I ordered Thai food again, my comfort ritual now, and ate by the window while the city moved below, unaware of the quiet victory above it. When my phone buzzed, it wasn't fear anymore. It was an alert from my bank, $85,000 wire transfer received from settlement. I smiled. Outside, the city hummed like an orchestra tuning before a new song. The old Harper, the one who apologized for taking up space, was gone. In her place stood a woman who understood her worth and would never let anyone rewrite her story again. The settlement hit my account on a Thursday morning, quiet and clean, no courtroom, no public statement, just a digital notification that closed an ugly chapter. Elias texted, "Congrats, major win literally." I laughed out loud for the first time in months. Later that day, I met Candace, my lawyer, at a small cafe near the courthouse. "You handled this better than most," she said, stirring her espresso. "No chaos, no meltdown, just precision." I smiled. "Years of being underestimated are excellent training. Do you know what you'll do with the money?" I nodded.
Yes.
"Something that actually builds, not destroys." By evening, I was at a real estate office downtown, signing papers for a 2-bedroom condo overlooking the city. Paid in full. No mortgage, no dependents, no names attached but mine. When the realtor handed me the keys, I remembered my husband's words, "It's not yours anymore." I looked down at the metal key pressed into my palm and whispered, "It never stopped being mine." The next morning, I visited Elias at his base before his unit's deployment. He stood by the jeep, arms crossed, proud and worried at the same time. "You sure you're okay on your own now?" he asked. "More than okay." I hugged him tight. "Go to your job, big brother. I'll do mine." He smiled. "Keep doing what scares men who underestimate you." Back home, I unpacked boxes in my new place. The space smelled of fresh paint and new beginnings. I hung my framed degree, set my laptop on the desk, and watched the sun spill gold across the floor. No ghosts, no shouting, no fear, just peace. A full year later, I stood on the balcony of my condo, the skyline glittering like a promise I had finally learned to believe in. The world had moved on, but I hadn't forgotten. I'd transformed. The headlines faded, the settlement money became investments, and I built something meaningful from the wreckage. The Harper Foundation, a small nonprofit that provided housing support to women starting over after domestic financial abuse. Every week, I met women who whispered the same things I once did. I thought I couldn't survive without him. Now I got to smile and say, "You can." One morning, an envelope arrived without a return address. Inside was a short note in my ex-husband's handwriting. "You destroyed my life. I hope you're happy. I folded it once, set it in the shredder, and pressed start. The machine hummed softly, like a curtain closing. That evening, Elias video called from overseas. So, he grinned, how's freedom treating you? I laughed. Like oxygen. Took a while to breathe it right. He raised his coffee mug. You did good, Harper. After the call, I walked through my quiet apartment, polished floors, plants by the window, and my own reflection calm for the first time in years. I sat at my desk, reviewing new foundation applicants. One file caught my eye, a young woman trying to reclaim her apartment after her in-laws forced her out. I smiled. Full circle. I clicked approve on her application. Then, I poured a glass of wine, stepped onto the balcony, and watched the city lights blink like old friends. No bitterness. No rage. Just peace. Earned, not granted. Some stories don't end with revenge. They end with restoration. And mine had finally come full circle.